Welcome to the Dusty Muffins, where menopause meets sisterhood and strength. We're three menopause specialists coming together to laugh, share, and empower you through the wild ride of menopause and perimenopause. Whether you're curious, confused, or just looking for real talk, you're in the right place. We're here to answer your burning questions, educate, and advocate, all with a dash of humor and a lot of heart. So pull up your chair and join the conversation. Before we dive in, please remember, while we're doctors, we're not your doctors. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. We encourage you to partner with your own medical clinician to address your unique health needs. This is the Dusty Muffins.
I'm Dr. Rebbecca Hertel. I'm a board-certified osteopathic family medicine physician and a Menopause Society certified practitioner. I have a private telemedicine practice, and I see patients in several different states.
I am Dr. Aoife O'Sullivan, a board-certified family physician and Menopause Society certified practitioner, and I see patients through my telemedicine practice here in Oregon and Washington.
I'm Dr. Christine Hart Kress, a board-certified women's health nurse practitioner and menopause certified practitioner, and I see patients via telemedicine in several states as well.
Welcome back to the Dusty Muffins. Today we're digging into a topic that affects every single woman in midlife, bone health. And trust us, it's way more interesting than just take your calcium.
Joining us are two powerhouse founders. Dr. Jennifer Hun, PharmD, is a dual residency trained board-certified clinical pharmacist. She is the co-founder and co-CEO of Scene Nutrition, a food tech startup focused on bone health for women. After a diagnosis of osteoporosis in 2020, she is now on a mission to revolutionize the calcium supplement industry by using only real food calcium to improve bone health. Adrienne Bitar, PhD, is a lecturer in food studies at Cornell University and the author of Diet and the Disease of Civilization, also the co-founder and co-CEO of Scene Nutrition. Adrienne is committed to bone health education and believes deeply in the food-first approach to nutrition and health.
Together, they co-founded Scene Nutrition, a game-changing food-first company focused on improving women's bone health with real food-based calcium. Let's get into it.
Hi, ladies. Yay! Thanks so much.
Christine cursed us, girls. She said, I hope I don't say fast food instead of food first. And that went into Rebecca's head. And Rebecca said it twice.
Did you say fast food? Because I didn't catch that.
I said it. I was like, oh, great.
No, you didn't. You didn't say it, but I was saying that's a lot of like double F words.
Yeah.
Listen, good thing we didn't double up some other things in there.
There's still time. There is.
We have a whole hour to go. Yes.
Yes. Welcome, ladies. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. I mean, we are all fans of the three of you, yes, because you provide expertise to menopause and midlife, but you also do it in such an approachable way as humans, and that's what really drew me to you. And so we're excited to get on this call and just talk about us and Scene Nutrition, our calcium chew, whatever.
We're pretty big fans of you all as well. It's the only calcium I recommend, so.
Tell us, I think we're all the same. Tell us how you two met and what kind of inspired you to create your new company, Scene.
Yeah. So we actually met at the park because we both have young children. They're toddlers. Yeah. And so we met at the park here in Ithaca, New York, where we live. And we were friends for a pretty long time, like a year, before we started to dig into like what we do professionally. Mm-hmm. Before, our conversations were all about like, okay, what do you do for bedtime? Or like, what do you feed your 4-year-old, But we started to talk about like what we do professionally. And then we found this really unique intersection between Adrienne's specialty in food and diet history and my specialty in pharmacotherapy and supplementation. And then we started to dig a little deeper into our physical health as well. And I shared that I was diagnosed with a rare form of osteoporosis after I had my daughter, broke my back and everything. And Adrienne's family also has a history of osteoporosis and fractures. And so we kind of started to think like, why isn't there anything better for the 40 million American women who have low bone density when it comes to calcium supplementation. We know that calcium is so critical for bone health in addition to a whole host of other things. But why is it that when a woman goes to CVS or Target, wherever, they can only find calcium carbonate, which is synthetic, very, very, very cheap calcium that doesn't absorb well and is just unpleasant to take. So then we thought, okay, well, let's kind of experiment and see what we can do in this space. And so
yeah, it was a long journey, but yeah, we started out just as mom friends. Like we found out we had a lot in common. We're both living in Ithaca because of Cornell, but from the Bay Area. And then I think there was a eureka moment when our families were inside eating tacos.
Yeah, I remember
and then
that.
we had margaritas and we were on the porch. We're like, you know what? There's just too much chaos inside. Like, let's actually talk. Yeah. And so we like went outside on the porch. We let our husbands deal with us screaming. And we were like, wait, you're a pharmacist. I do food studies. We see a problem.
Yeah.
We have no business experience, but we're going to sort that out. And there was just this like aha moment being like, hey, like if not us, then who? Like we were uniquely positioned to do something, and we recognized our own value, and we're like, you know, we have something to bring to the world. Like we're not quite sure how the path will take us there, but like I think both of us have a lot of confidence in one another. Like if I can't figure it out, Jenny knows the answer. And like that sense of like we can do this together as a team has propelled us to like to creating a product we're super proud of, and we think has, you know, a real enormous potential to, well, not think, we know, and the proof is in the pudding, is already changing people's lives. So we're proud of where we've come from the park and from our margaritas on the porch.
That's funny because I like specifically remember that period too, where that happened. And then we started just like ordering, trying different supplements, different ingredients, different food. We were in the test kitchen for 18 months here at Cornell, and now we're 2 years out.
Wow.
So Jenny, I got a question, because osteoporosis at 29, right? That's pretty rare. So it kind of floors me a lot. Did anybody, like, were there any warning signs? Was there any like lab work, like your calcium was low, your vitamin D was low? I mean, anything besides, I mean, we know family history is the number one risk factor, but, you know, was there anything along the way? Because I know there's going to be patients going, oh my God, 29. Because, you know, we're all surprised when we see perimenopausal women come out the gate with osteoporosis.
I wish there was warning signs that I knew about when I was growing up and going through it. But honestly, no. You know, like I thought I was an otherwise healthy person. I was in the healthcare space. So, you know, I was like exercising mildly, you know, eating good food and things. But I absolutely had no idea that I had low bone density until I fractured my back 2 months postpartum. And then that's when we started to dig in. Well, why are you 29 and why did you break your back? And so then that's when we found, I did have low vitamin D, but most of us do. I mean, I was living in California, but my vitamin D was 17 when we checked it. So it was like egregiously low. And then when we dug a little further, me and my endocrinologist, she highlighted certain things that are kind of like red flags for women. And one of them was that I fractured my arm when I was about 10 years old. She's like, fracturing long bones as a child is rare, and it could indicate that you have low bone density early on. And then I also actually had a previous back fracture when I was about 16 years old from snowboarding. And that was just chalked up to, oh, you were snowboarding, that's why you broke your back. But she's like, even then, that's really rare.
Yeah,
so
that I can imagine like a bigger bone snowboarding rather than a back, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So she's like, those are risk factors. And then we dug into my diet too. And she's like, okay, you're lactose intolerant. You didn't eat a lot of dairy growing up. You probably never reached peak bone mass. And that's why when you were pregnant and postpartum and breastfeeding, it was just sucking out all the calcium from your bones, and so that's why you probably fractured then. But yeah, those are all red flags that I wish I knew when I was growing up.
Right. Our history of being an athlete, right? Or even on birth control pills, things like that as a young female athlete. Yeah.
It's interesting how many women I see who have a history of a femur fracture, and I'm like, did anybody do bone density study on you? Like they'll have it like in their 30s or 40s, and they don't. And then of course, coming out the gate, they have osteoporosis. And then I've also been just noticing women with really low serum calcium. And so I've been looking at their bone density studies and kind of looking at, where their calcium is, where their bone density, because I'm usually focused mostly on D. And now I've been really locked in with calcium. And so if I see a low calcium, I'm like, okay, if you don't get it in your diet, then you better go get this Scene supplement because I don't like blood synthetic. I'm like, that's like my kind of pathway is those, if I see a calcium below 9.4, I'm like, you need calcium. You're not getting in your diet.
Yeah. Or like, why is it low for someone that's, perimenopausal, right? Yeah. Those are, I'm so glad that there's kind of a renewed focus on calcium, especially for women that are 30, 40 going into menopause, because it's so important to build up your bone density before you hit menopause and have that decrease in bone density.
Yep.
And I think
there's a lot of.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I think there's also this a greater amount of the population that is staying away from, dairy products for whatever reasons. And we're really not honing in, whether it be pediatricians or family medicine physicians, honing in on those children and young adults of, okay, where are we getting other calcium, whether it be through diet or whatnot, if you're not drinking milk and you're not, getting other forms of dairy or enough vitamin D. Definitely up here, New York, Pennsylvania, it's not unusual for me to see D levels at 5. I mean, they just all do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yep. And so I'm a big proponent of that.
And even, Colorado, they get like 362 days of sunshine. So you think their vitamin D levels, and no, I can count on 90% of my patients having tank levels. And, with vitamin D, I think too, the other thing people don't realize is in order to absorb calcium, you need vitamin D. In order to absorb vitamin D, you need vitamin K2. So if you're only doing one of the three things, you're likely to have a bone problem as you lose more estrogen and can't lay down bone at a faster rate than what you are absorbing it. So
I think women, a lot of them don't know that if you're in a state where you're not ovulating and you're not getting those waves of estrogen every month. So for some women, they have back-to-back babies and some of them breastfeed for many, many years. Or, when you're on a progesterone only birth control form of birth control, we think for most women that doesn't stop ovulation, but for some women it does. And when you're in a state like that where you're not ovulating, women who have a very low BMI, that really puts you at risk. You're losing bone density without that estrogen, and it is recoverable, but women don't know it, right?
Yeah, we're not told that when we go into our college health center looking for birth control. They're like, okay, what do you want?
Or they'll put you on the low dose, right?
Yeah.
The low dose, because they think it's less side effects. And then, I don't even know that there's, a lot of practitioners who really know the difference between low dose and high dose and the age of which you should use low dose birth control pills versus your regular dosing birth control pills and how that affects bone density.
Especially since everybody wants to obliterate periods and you need to be on a low dose to cycle back to back. So that's a good point.
Yeah. And so Adrienne, you bring a pretty unique perspective from the academic and cultural side of food. So what drew you to focus on bone health and how it influenced your decision to position Scene Calcium Chews as a food product? I thought that's just a really cool concept. And so, but not a dietary supplement. So.
Yes, it's such a good question. It's something that we thought about really carefully when we were first doing R&D. So we worked with many resources available to us at Cornell, including the pilot plant. So it's really advantageous to be a food product. And also, I mean, we are a food. Like it's not, it wasn't just a strategic decision. It's just intrinsic to the properties of both our mission and the products themselves. Like there's calories, there's protein, there's fiber, there's, of course, minerals. Like it's a food product, just like any other food product. But also as someone who has worked in food studies for a long time, I'm acutely aware of the nuances of the regulatory landscape in the United States. And it's like one of the greatest ironies. If you want to be political, you could say it's hypocrisy. But our dietary supplements are not as well regulated as our food products. Right? Yeah. They're not subject to the same GMP, the good manufacturing practices. They're not subject to the same stringency of recalls. They're not tested as thoroughly. The burden of proof is on the manufacturer. The burden of proof is on the manufacturer of the product, right? So the fox is guarding the hen house. Like, who on earth is going to be like, oh, actually, my product is unsafe? Like, of course, you have a vested interest. That's why you need third-party bodies. So, I mean, of course, we knew that we were going to test thoroughly. We do even go above and beyond the food product testing requirements. But we wanted to be subject to the same requirements that any food product has, and that the burden of proof about safety and efficacy is not on the manufacturer, but rather on the third-party agency which regulates us. So we are a food product from the very beginning to the end. So that means that the FDA inspects our facilities, the FDA regulates our nutrition facts panel, which is something that the dietary supplement facts panel is not regulated. So that's why you'll see, like, for example, in a bottle of gummies, like one gummy can have wildly more of whatever nutrient that they're proposing and they're promising is in the gummy than another in the same bottle. Yeah. The cumulative dose might be roughly in line with the promises on the back of the bottle, but individual dosing is just wildly off. So we have, and I can show you, so we actually run nutrition facts, which is FDA regulated and inspected. And then all of our facilities are subject to like good manufacturing practices. So we're really proud that we're a food product. And like, we are a food product. Like that's, I mean, our ingredients are dates and milk protein and mushrooms. So I am happy to be like firmly in the food space and like also bringing attention to this issue that dietary supplements are, for a whole host of political reasons, not as well regulated as our food. Yeah. Which is an irony if you're being kind and a hypocrisy if you're being factual.
Does that for people who have dairy sensitivity or allergy, how is that? Is that a concern for them? Is it?
So we use real dairy. We have done some R&D for a vegan source of calcium, but it's actually very difficult to find. Yeah. And the research just isn't there to back it up. So for another whole host of political reasons, because of the way the geography of our country and the way our House of Representatives is structured, there's been a lot of interest in dairy research from the start of nutrition history. So right here on our campus, there was the College of Home Economics. Now they changed it to the College of Human Ecology in around the 60s when that became a sort of feminist move. But the College of Home Economics hosted the Department of Domestic Science, which was around the turn of the century a really important route for women to become medical providers, to become nutritionists, to have entry into for example, the Food and Drug Administration. And dairy has always been a really important part of that research agenda. So for 150 years, really since the birth of serious nutrition science, dairy has been well studied. So that's why we feel very confident using milk minerals as the best source of calcium, because we know like forward and backwards how the minerals from milk is absorbed into your body, better so than any other more less well studied source.
How did you narrow it down to 4 ingredients? I can't believe you were in the test kitchen for 18 months.
That was the formal test kitchen, but if you're including like our homes, probably longer. We still have like a whole scene cupboard of all these different ingredients, seaweed blends or like all these things, because we were just like, how do we get something with minimal ingredients, like you were saying, without, so that we don't have to use preservatives, additives, fillers, anything.
Sugar.
So we can provide like a true clean label product to our customers. And so we just narrowed it down. Like, how do we get 500 milligrams of dietary calcium per chew with minimizing everything else? And then we found also our vitamin D mushrooms. Those are excellent sources of vitamin D. And so that's how we use only real food ingredients for our calcium chew. And we're like, don't mess with anything else. Like fiber people can get elsewhere, you know, everything else they can get elsewhere. Let's focus on dietary calcium.
Keep it simple type of thing. And I'll tell everybody who hates mushrooms, which would be myself, they're very good. I taste no mushroom in there.
They taste like, to me, they taste like bread, like date bread.
Yeah, date bread. I would agree with that. The date is the most
forward.
Yes, the most forward. Yep, I would agree. Yeah,
and somewhere along the line, maybe it was on social media, someone said it tastes best with coffee. So that's what I've been telling everybody. Have it with your morning coffee.
That was probably me. That's how I eat it. Like I eat it in between.
Might have been where I heard it.
Yes.
I eat it between breakfast and lunch because it's like you get kind of hungry between breakfast and lunch. And I'm like,
it is very dense. It's very dense. Like I would agree with you because sometimes after, you know, if I have it in the morning and before I eat anything, I'm like, I'm not really hungry. Or, you know, after a meal, I'm like, I'm really full. It's very dense, if that's the right word. Like when you eat that.
People have told us that. Like it induces satiety.
It's satisfying.
It's like there's some foods that have like, you know, they provoke satiety for fewer calories. And I think it's because our I don't know, this is pure speculation. Yeah. But it's like just a tasty little treat, but it also feels like it fills your stomach and you have a feeling. For me, I have a feeling of satiety afterwards.
Yeah. That's why some eat it for like dessert. Replaces ice cream, you know, why not? Anything else.
Dip it in a little chocolate, like a little chocolate drizzle.
You've been hearing like really really fun ways to eat the chew. Like you could put some peanut butter on there, which I've been doing every day. It's delicious.
I never thought about those little things like that. That's a great idea because I'm usually like running around. I'm like, I better pop my chew and, you know, go along. But that's good just to keep it like even in, you know, when I meal prep for the day, maybe just keep it as part of my meal prep and it's in my lunchbox and I, you know, dip it in a little nut butter or whatever. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, I feel like now you've created a monster because none of this ever occurred to me. And now I'm having visions of fonduing my calcium chew in chocolate.
Oh, that'd be good.
And then I'm thinking, I wonder, you know, because people have a hard time like planning out some of their supplements. I'm like, I wonder if that could count as the healthy fat with the progesterone at night as the vehicle.
But nothing big, right? So because you don't want to be full before you go to bed. That's a great idea.
I don't know. What makes it so different from the one that you would pick up in the pharmacy, you know, the calcium carbonate, or I've even told my patients in the past, you know, just take 2 Tums, that type of thing, a few times a week. What makes the calcium chew different to that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the main difference is that those obviously have synthetic calcium. So calcium carbonate, calcium citrate, calcium lactate, any of those that have calcium and then like a salt attached to it is synthetic calcium. So that's the main difference is that's synthetic calcium made from a lab or either mined from a rock. That's calcium carbonate. It's literally like chalk or from limestone. Yes.
Yeah. And found in drywall. So
awesome.
If you're ever desperate,
no idea.
Let me go lick some drywall for my calcium.
Yeah, exactly. So that's calcium carbonate, synthetic calcium. And those, like when you're going to the pharmacy, it's providing calcium, that synthetic calcium in silo. Some of these are formulated with vitamin D, for example, or maybe they'll have vitamin K nowadays, but most of these are providing calcium in silo. Because we use food and the minerals from milk, it's providing calcium with all the other minerals that are needed for bone health. So it has calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, zinc, copper, iron, in the ratios that are actually found in bone. And we didn't artificially say, okay, we need this percentage of magnesium and this percentage of zinc. it's naturally found that way in milk, which is another reason why milk is such a great source of calcium for bone health, because of the other minerals that are found in milk. So that's the main difference. That's why we also call it the calcium chew complete, because we know that bones need more than calcium. We need protein, we need collagen, we need these other minerals that you were saying, Christine, vitamin D, vitamin K. And so it's providing those in the ratios that are best for calcium absorption and then utilization into the bone.
And do we know that our bodies deal with it any differently? Like, are we less likely to get, how some people are prone to calcium, kidney stones, things like that? Do we know that our bodies deal with it any differently?
Yeah. There's been a lot of studies actually looking at specifically calcium carbonate and then dietary calcium, and how does it act in the body? How long does it stay in our serum? How fast does it get removed? And it's fascinating because they had the participants take calcium carbonate, and what they found is that the serum levels go up really quickly for calcium, and then they stay high for much longer than someone eating the same amount of dietary calcium. It goes up, and then the body processes it really quickly. And so that's why the risks of possible risks of cardiovascular disease or accumulation in soft tissues is not found with dietary calcium, and may be seen with synthetic calcium, specifically calcium carbonate. And then also the National Kidney Foundation, the misconception with calcium oxalate kidney stones is that people think, oh, if I had a kidney stone, I need to eat less calcium. But it's actually the opposite, because eating dietary calcium will bind to the oxalates so that you don't form the calcium oxalate kidney stones down the line. So we've been saying you need to increase your dietary calcium so that it'll bind to the oxalates. Yes, you should probably decrease your oxalates a little bit, or maybe your synthetic calcium, but dietary calcium is actually a protective factor.
Very interesting, because I have some patients that, the female patients, I worry about their bone density as they're, in perimenopause and menopause because of kidney stones, and they're like nothing. They drink lemonade and to help with that, and lemons and all of that, to prevent stone formation. But I worry about their bone density, and so that's a great point. I never understood that. So.
It's always good to listen to other clinicians and the way they explain things, because then you're like, oh, yeah, I learned that somewhere along the line, but I've forgotten about that completely.
Yeah, it jogs back your memory a little bit.
It does, yeah. Are there any myths or misunderstandings about diet and bone health that you're hoping to debunk?
Oh my gosh,
so
many. I mean, you pointed to
give us your top one.
You pointed to some earlier, Rebbecca, that there's been long-standing trends in American diet, Western diet, and that some of them actually have these unintended consequences. So, for example, in the United States, we don't mandate the fortification of wheat with calcium like they do, for example, in other countries in the UK. So they've done population dietary studies in the UK, in the United States, and they found that actually it's a pretty sizable contribution to the consumption of calcium in the UK. It's like 30% or so. But in the US, some of the unintended consequences of people pursuing a healthy lifestyle. So think about it. It's so like, let's say you have a low BMI, okay? You exercise all the time, you avoid processed foods, and you avoid dairy. So what are you losing there? You're avoiding dairy, which is the best, clearly the best source of dietary calcium in the diet. The runner-up, which it's not best, but for some people in some situations, fortified foods can be great. Where do you find foods fortified with calcium? Kind of like ultra-processed food. That's your Lucky Charms, your Cheerios. This is not food you get at Whole Foods necessarily. Some forms of rice. So if you're avoiding dairy, you're avoiding ultra-processed foods, and you have a low BMI, those are actually kind of risk factors for having low calcium in your diet and developing low bone density. So it's a funny contradiction, but those are some myths that I would like to see busted. It's like, well, dairy actually, think if you're concerned about dairy, think carefully. What are you concerned about? If it's inflammation, let's look at the studies here. Maybe it's the fat content you're concerned about, or maybe it's the type of dairy you're consuming, or maybe it's consuming it in smaller servings throughout the day that might help. So those would be that would be one myth that I would identify.
There's so many nutritionists that believe that calcium, dairy, let me just rephrase that, dairy is inflammatory and that you should eliminate it for weight loss. But I haven't, I was, looking through the studies, and it really doesn't show that dairy causes inflammation. I don't know what you think.
Very popular these days, especially with the rise of functional medicine, and which I fully support. I receive functional medicine training as well. Right. And the first thing that we do in the elimination diet is eliminate dairy. But if we really break down why we do that, it's primarily because of the fat, and then also because of some of the proteins found in milk, specifically casein. So if you do that first step of the elimination diet, and then you find that your body is less bloated and you feel good, then we dive into, well, why is that the case? And a lot of times it's because of the fat content. Actually, I found that more because of the fat content versus the casein. But I think there's like nuance there that gets lost in the trend. So it's like the trend is like, let's eliminate dairy because it's inflammatory, but there's little pieces of that causes the inflammation. But overall, dairy can still be a really important food group that you should keep in your diet, but in a different way. So like the milk minerals in our calcium chew, we take milk and remove all of the fat, nearly all of the lactose that we say it's and then we have 1 gram of protein from the milk in there. So that's why we're saying, like, maybe if you're dairy intolerant and it's from the fat content, you can still eat our chew and be okay.
There's kind of an all or nothing approach that I've seen in a lot of diet trends over, throw out all your carbs, embrace all the protein. And for dairy especially, it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I think it's important to bring more nuance into this before eliminating a whole food group wholesale without understanding the possible benefits that you're losing or making a switch. And speaking of another myth, well, I drink my almond milk, or I drink my oat milk. And yes, it has calcium, but that calcium is not intrinsic to the properties of the almond milk or the oat milk itself. It's fortified with synthetic calcium, usually calcium carbonate. And while that might be like an affordable and accessible form of calcium for many people, it doesn't have that same benefits, proven, reliable benefits that dietary calcium brings to your bones. So I really try to caution people, look at that ingredient label. If it's almond milk with 500 milligrams of calcium, that's calcium carbonate. And there's other concerns, you have to worry about it settling into the liquid. So when they say shake that bottle, really do shake the bottle, because you don't want to be getting all of it. But it's sediments at the bottom, unless it's properly suspended. So from a food science perspective, it's very important to read the ingredient label and treat the product that you're consuming with the sort of the nuance that it deserves.
How about Greek yogurt? I may not be a milk
Greek
drinker.
Good.
Yeah.
It's silly when they eliminate it because of protein, because it's easy for protein.
Yeah, protein and helping you get enough dairy. I'm like, that's what my kids get their calcium from. Maybe I ended up having to give them
I've been wanting to do an Instagram reel about this for the past year, and I haven't gotten around to it because I found that there's different sources of calcium depending on the different types of Greek yogurt that you consume. So, and I was shocked by this. I had no idea. It's I thought all Greek yogurt has the same amount of calcium, but no, it differs between brand. Even within brands, it differs between flavor or the type of milk that they use. And so I want to do an Instagram reel, showing popular brands and how the calcium content.
That's a great idea. Because for us that, that work with midlife women, and we're always telling them a great Greek yogurt is a great way to get your protein. Yeah. And we want to make sure that we're giving them the one that has the best calcium in it too. So I'm a fan of that reel.
Yeah, we would like the answer.
We'd like the answer. And I may also would like to have it for myself. Let's be real.
So you both use the phrase food first that we have difficulty saying in a sentence here in your messaging. What does that philosophy look like in the long run for Scene?
Yeah, that's a good question. We dream big, Adrienne and I.
We do.
We started with our calcium chew, but what we would like to see is a full line of supplements that are only made from food. So taking that food first approach for bone health. There's too much on the market right now with synthetic calcium, like we talked about, synthetic other vitamins, things. So we want to use high quality food to support women's bone health. That's what we want to do. We have some things in line, hopefully for the fall, for the winter, to make this line possible. But yeah, it's a lot of work too, and we're juggling with it all right now.
Mm-hmm. But I think really paying attention to the language of a supplement is helpful.
Yeah.
Like we know that the average American woman gets 850 milligrams of calcium from her diet alone. So why on earth, if you go to your CVS or your Walgreens and you look at the bottles, backs of the bottles of calcium chews, it's saying to take like 4 pills equaling 1,200 milligrams. Unless you are on a liquid diet with no calcium, that's completely unnecessary. So the idea of just using just as much as we know from population dietary consumption data, which is an inexact science, but I mean, as a rule of thumb, it's good. And just making up the difference, like supplementing your diet. That's it. No more. We don't need to push calcium carbonate or any of these vitamins or minerals as if people walk through life without eating anything throughout their day.
Yeah.
Totally unnecessary, potentially harmful. And it's like, well, you have to understand the supplement as like, it's just enough to take you to where you need to be. No more. That's it. And I think that's a very cautious, gentle approach that if you're trying to push products, it's not making you rich. So I think that's where we understand our food first approach to supplements. Like you said, Christine, like it's just enough. It's all food. No reason to go overboard.
I think since I got to Ireland, I've been on a mainly liquid diet with no calcium. So maybe I'll do the 1,200 while I'm here.
We've seen your Facebook pages.
Oh, that was fantastic. I loved it.
It's been messy, but fun.
It sounds fun to me. Yeah.
Oh.
No, I think that was like, I get asked a lot too as a pharmacist, like, what multivitamin do you recommend? Or like, what supplement is best? How do you know? There's so many out there. And that's one of the red flags that I tell people is that if you turn the label over and if any of those percentages are above 100% for the RDA, then that's a red flag for me, because then that means that that company, that brand is not taking a food first approach and wanting you to think that you're getting more for your money because it's over 100% when you really don't need that. No. So if there's like, and it's crazy, some of these brands have like 1,000% RDA, and it's like, why? You don't need that. You really can get it from your food. And so that's one of the red flags. Like,
yeah, we're definitely, right? It's drummed into us, bigger is better and more is better. So that wouldn't even have occurred to me to think like that. So that's a great tip.
Yeah.
And now with women trying to solve, a lot of women who don't want hormone therapy, which is absolutely fine. What they're trying to do is use supplements, the natural way to make themselves feel better. And, I've said this before, it makes me cringe when they show up, with their bin of supplements, and then, you start actually looking at their vitamins and minerals, and you're like, you don't need that, you don't need that, you don't need that. And then you see, some variations in their, blood counts or their metabolic panels. And it's like, all right, we got to start coming off of this. And so I think women really do need to test their vitamins and minerals and not guess. And just because a company has a lineup of supplements, it doesn't mean you need all of them. Yeah, and if they're combined, you may not need all of the things in that supplement. Right. And I find women are spending an enormous amount of money on supplements and tinctures and potions. And I'm like, you don't need all that.
Right. And
Yeah,
getting
well,
back
that's
to
why they
like the
call it.
lifestyle, right? The lifestyle medicine approach is food. That's why I love this project, because really, we're encouraging women to have a great plate of greens and colors along with their whatever protein. And the best way to get all of that is from really good nutritious food. And so, I like that part too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have the phrase the polypharmacy of menopause for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. And I
There's
get it,
no
because
doubt.
during this time or whatever time, if you're in a desperate state, you'll take anything to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, Christine, what happens is that you get supplement stacking. And so maybe you're getting magnesium here, but then also from your 3 other supplements, because brands like to combine everything. And I get that. But you just have to be even more cautious when you're taking more than one to actually see. And so and talk to your doctors, like let your doctors know that you're on all these supplements, because then they will help you decipher what's needed and what's not, and you can save a lot of money.
Awesome. Well,
Oh my gosh.
Adrienne, thank you guys so much for sharing your stories, your science, your incredible mission. You're helping women reclaim their strength, and literally from the inside out. Where can our listeners find Scene?
Yeah, good. So we have our website, which is www.seen-nutrition. So SEEN nutrition. There's a double N. We named the company to help women in all of their life stages feel seen, supported, strong. So Scene Nutrition, hopefully you can remember that, and you can subscribe, learn more, reach out. We love talking to people who are interested in their bone health. We're total fanatics about it, so love to chat.
If you can tell.
And then on Instagram at the Calcium Queens.
And don't forget to follow us on the Dusty Muffins for more midlife magic, one episode at a time.